All right, well, motor's back together from the broken crankshaft. Just now got the heads put back on and the valves all ran. The pre-oil, let me get this out of here. The pre-oil came up to 65, 66 PSI, which is really good. A little bit better than before, actually. Like I said, all the valves ran. There was new valves put in because we bent every valve in for flipping motor. So that's all new valves, all brand new crank. But now this crank here, that crank that's in there, that's a Scat Pro Series forged crank. And see, this is what I don't like about the 460s. Look at all that space. You got all that crap hanging out there, and it puts a lot of stress when the blower's turning. It wants to lift this crank up. And when you do that, and if you got a weak or just a bad crank or whatever, they tend to break. Some people say, well, it's gear drives that breaks cranks off back in there. You know, mine broke off just behind the gear drive. I don't really buy that. I think it's more of either a manufacturing process issue. There'd been an air bubble or something in the metal, and it, you know, after time with this pressure on this, it cracks and breaks. Or I think it's just an installation errors from, you know, I've seen people do some pretty crazy stuff, you know, beating balancers on and all this other shit. But, you know, here we have all the proper tools to do that. They're all OTC, Mac, or Snap-on tools, and everything is done with the special tools, how you're supposed to do it the right way. Just shouldn't be doing it if you didn't get the tools. And I was going to change this back around here to over there, but blower belt's in the way, alternator shit's in the way, so can't do that. So I'm going to have to leave it over here and have the long heater hose. Now, also today, supposedly coming in the mail, there's a crank hub support for blower motors. It's the Chevy style, which on the big block Fords, they don't make a crank hub support. Why, I have no idea, for the big block Fords. They make them one, RCD makes one for the small block. But a lot of times people are putting the small block or the big block Chevys on here and then fabricating their own brackets to come up and go to the motor, because most of the time they go right here, over there, and up there with the water pump bolt. So fabricating some brackets is, again, ain't that big a deal. The motor's out of the car, it shouldn't be that hard. We got a plasma cutter and a TIG welder and a MIG welder, so that shouldn't be too difficult. We got all the measuring tools just to do it with. I've done harder things. So it's all back together, just waiting on the crank support. Let's see what else. Yeah, all ARP studs and bolts again. But after I get the hub support on there, this motor will be ready to go back down in the car. You can see I've already we've pre-oiled that. And we're using the, on the oil, we're using Valvoline Racing VR1 2050. And I know, here we go with everybody saying, oh, you don't need 2050 because of this or that or whatever. I mean, oil is more about preference and what the application is. This is a blower motor. It's gonna get hot. That oil's gonna break down real quick. I mean, I prefer to run the 2050, just added precaution. It's good oil. It'll work good in this motor. We ran Castrol in it last time. It ran pretty good. But yeah, the pre-oil, it came up to 65, 66 psi. It's only taking the gauge out. Yeah, we just pre-oiled it. So as soon as that crank hub gets here, I'll see what I can do with it, and put up another video with it. Also, this timing was set up with a dial indicator with number 1 piston at true top dead center. Now this mark here, that's true top dead center. That's 15 or 16 degrees. That's 36 degrees. And you have to do it that way on a blower motor because some applications you don't run a balancer, so you got to make your own timing marks and set your own pointers up. Now this motor is also running fuel injection, but Phytech fuel injection is a little stupid when it comes to blower motors and their fuel injection, because their fuel injection is programmed. It wants to see a timing curve. That's key. If it does not see a timing curve, when you're not letting the Phytech control the timing, it will not feed fuel to this motor past 4,700 RPM. It'll fall on its face. It's not seeing the curve, so it won't. It goes into like a limp mode, I guess. And after several conversations and a direct, talk with a Phytech engineer as we were setting this back up before the motor blew, we figured it out that it has to be that the distributor cannot be locked, even though you're supposed to lock them on a blower motor. I mean, you can run them unlocked on a blower motor. There's nothing wrong with it, I guess. I mean, especially if you're on the street. But if you don't want Phytech to run your ignition, you have to unlock your distributor. And we did that, and this motor spun $6,000. There's 65 or 67, something like that. But anyway, yeah, and if you want it to control it, then lock your distributor, use your white wire, I think it is, instead of the blue wire for tack signal, and go on down the road. But yeah, it's a little weird, but I mean, I understand it, but I don't see what it has to do with why it's doing it. But now the distributor, that's a white performance billet unlocked distributor with 20 degrees of timing. That's why the marks are the way they are, because at 2,800 RPM that distributor comes full in at 20 degrees, and I want to be at 36 on this motor. So I have to take 36 and minus 20, that's 16. So there's your 16 degrees right there. That's where my static timing should come, where I come in at idle, it should sit right there. Let's see what else. Also, these are 98 cc dish pistons. I have 16 thousandths of deck clearance. That puts this motor, with the 20% over on the supercharger, that puts this motor at about 13 to 1 when you start opening them butterflies up and it starts packing some air in there. So it ought to run really good this time. I think it might run a little bit better. We got a little bit better oil pressure. Redid the rings. That's where we're at. Like I said, as soon as that hub support comes in and start messing with that and get it to go on here, I'll get a video of that. But until then, thanks for watching.